3, 4, 5.
Oh, man, I was supposed to press record on 3, wasn't I? Dang it. So, I have a problem that needs solving, David. As I come to you many times needing a problem solved, I have a problem that needs solving.
All right. Well, I'm ready to hear it, my friend, and I will offer any advice and counsel and solutions that I can.
Thank you, my friend. So, but see, like many problems that need solving, this started off as a problem well solved at some point, because for somebody, not for me, but for somebody, because one day somebody made a couch.
Okay.
Right? And they slapped their couch in their living room. You know, this nice it's a big, comfy place to sit.
Mm-hmm.
And I would guess that over a period of many years, they started to get tired of the couch. They started to get tired of looking at it. You know, the way that familiar things start to get old and annoying, and it doesn't look good anymore, and it needs a little life given back into it. And so they came up with this great idea. They were like, well, what if I take my pictures and I put them on the... No, I'm just kidding.
I was falling there for a second, and I was trying to picture exactly what you were thinking.
So, what if I take this pillow, because we need pillows. People like pillows to sit on and to put their head against, and
and they're soft, right, for a couch.
Soft. Yeah, exactly. And they made these little pillows that they put on the couch, and then they thought, well, a boring white pillow will not do. Let's give it some decoration. And so they made these beautiful pillows that they placed on their couch.
Okay.
And like a virus, this spread. Rapidly. Okay, just very quickly. Not that it was necessarily bad at the moment.
Exponentially through the population, it dispersed.
Yes. People saw those pillows and they thought, wow, I would like to have a pillow like that. And a throw pillow was born.
Okay.
So, throw pillows, in and of themselves, I don't have a lot of problems with when, like, the couch is sitting on the showroom floor, and you can see the couch, and it's got these beautiful, these decorative throw pillows on it that make the couch look better.
Right.
I can't stand them. I can't stand throw pillows, though, because as soon as you get the couch into your house and you put the throw pillows on, what is the first thing that you do when multiple people come to sit on the couch?
You throw the throw pillows off the couch.
Take the throw. My in-laws' house, they have this big L-shaped leather couch or whatever, and it's got these blue throw pillows. They barely stand up on it because the leather is so slippery. And then when everyone comes over, guess where all the throw pillows are at the end of the day? They're on the floor. They're just all over the floor, like scattered around. And I'm like, this is horrible. This is not good. This is not a good solution. And then over time, like you get tired of looking at them and moving them back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then like a virus, it spread to beds. And I go to showrooms and I see beds in stores, and they're covered in pillows. And it's not like, and pillows, they used to be, I assume that throw pillows used to be like really soft and cushy and wonderful. No, they're totally decorative now because they've gotten, they use harsh materials. It's not so soft anymore. They're too small. They're too round. They're too bulbous. And then they go on the beds and they cover your bed in throw pillows, and guess what you have to do to sleep on the bed? Well, you have to push all the throw pillows onto the floor. And it's like, what's the point of the throw pillows?
Wow. I have so many thoughts right now based on what you just described. Sorry, do you have any other angst that you need to let out before I comment on this predicament?
I mean, I've only had one good recent experience with throw pillows, and that's that. That's that, like, I need one for my mouse pad because I don't have a desk to sit at, and so the couch is the next comfiest place to sit to use my laptop. but I need a mouse and a mouse pad, and I don't want to have it like if it's too low, it starts to hurt my wrist really quick, and so I have to lift it up high a little bit. So I put it on the throw pillow, and that works. The throw pillow works for that, but it's in the way all the time. It takes up space on the couch. They don't look great. Like, I just help me, David. We need to find because I see the need for them. Like, they are aesthetically pleasing, and they're not terrible. They do have their uses and the times that they come in handy. But I need them to not be all over the house and all over the floor and stuffed into the closet. I can't have them all over the place like this.
I don't even know where to start with my thoughts, but I'm just going to try and list them in the order they came to me.
Okay.
First of all, you joked about putting pictures on your couch for a second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen somebody that has the throw pillows that have like a family picture on them or something like that?
No, but I think I've seen where you can get them printed, and that's
right.
Terrible, bad, no good.
If you ever go to one of those houses, it's super awkward because, like you said, the first thing you do when you sit on a couch is move the pillow.
Right.
It's like do you want me to like throw your family across the room? Do you want me to like sit on them? Like, what is your like? I feel a little bit worse about using this pillow in any way because now there's a picture of your child's face on it.
Right.
And I feel like I'm indirectly saying something by the way I treat this pillow.
Right. Well, then, like, say you need to like lay down for a nap or something on someone's couch, and they have that. So you're like looking into the eyes of their whole family as you try and sleep on the throw pillow. Like, that's no good. That's no good. I don't like that at all.
It's like, why don't you just hang up that same picture right next to the couch, and you can still see your family, you know?
Right.
My next thought is, you said you had nothing against throw pillows to start, or like nothing particular against them, but I don't think I've heard anyone with as much angst as you have against throw pillows. So I don't know if that statement's really true. I think there's a deeper part of you that hates them, even if we solve this problem just from past experience.
Well, I agree. I think I will always hate them, but I can't, like, you go to, like, I seriously don't understand why there's like 10 pillows on a bed that none of them I'm going to be using to sleep with. Like, none of them do I use to sleep with. And then, like, the couches, it drives me crazy.
Right.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think we can. But I need a solution that I can work with. Because just throwing the pillows all over the place, that is not working for me. And I need a better solution to make everyone else around me happy so that I can deal with throw pillows. And so that everyone else can have their throw pillows.
Right. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You said you could see a purpose for their aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
My problem as a person that believes in pure practicality in its purest form, aesthetics mean absolutely nothing to me, so I don't really see a purpose for throw pillows at all. So I'm not really the person you should be asking on this matter. Because I would say just burn them. Burn them all to the ground.
Just take them out back and grab the shotgun and just... You got to put them
Target
down.
practice.
Yeah.
Throw them in the air and watch what happens when they blow up.
They're usually bright colors, so they're easy to spot. And...
Let's save on buying, clay pigeons or something.
Yeah, exactly. I see that I have brought my problem to the wrong person for fixing it. The right person for complaining about, though. That's good.
But let's start with the assumption that there is a good portion of the population that actually cares about aesthetics.
Mm-hmm, right.
And that we actually, for some reason or another, do not want to offend these people because they're probably our aunts, our grandmas, etc. that have these systems in place.
Right.
Yeah, I've always thought the same thing though. Like, what's the purpose of a pillow that you don't use?
Right.
You sit down, you move it, or you literally throw it. Maybe that's why they call them throw pillows. You literally throw it somewhere.
Genius.
But yeah, I guess one thing I always liked that our family did, and this problem was not with throw pillows as much, but was like blankets. Mm-hmm. In my family, what would happen is I had 7 brothers and sisters, so I have a big family, and we'd all sit along our huge set of couches. We had a couple of couches in our living room so that we could all watch a show together or whatever it was. and everyone would want their blanket because the downstairs was always freezing because the way our AC worked, it just never would heat up. And my parents actually remodeled their house recently and found that the AC vent wasn't even connected to the basement, which is why it was always so freezing. Yeah,
It wasn't even. Oh,
that's a
my
long
goodness.
story, but I think you'd appreciate that. Essentially, they just assumed the wall would act like a conduit to the vent. There was actually no like metal framing in there to actually help the air go down. And anywho, point being, we always had tons of blankets for all my siblings and everything. And we had a special spot like between our two couches because the way they angled, there's kind of this like triangle chasm that formed where we always threw the blankets down in. So you could grab the blankets out of it or throw the blankets down in there when you're done.
Right.
But I think the same rule needs to apply with throw pillows. Like if you're going to provide throw pillows, or if you're someone that wants throw pillows, I think you have to have a specific spot designated also to put them when people come and say, oh, just throw it over here or just put it right here.
Right.
Because otherwise the assumption is, oh, just throw it wherever you want or put it on the floor or put it on the side, you know what?
Well, or they like sit down and put the pillow in their lap because they didn't want to like move the pillow too much.
Right.
Like, I do that at people's houses. I'm like, this pillow's in the way, but so I'm just gonna hold it, I guess. Like I'll just hold it here and become one with the couch really quick.
Right. Just merge and morph into the couch itself.
Right. So storage positions.
I think that's like our most immediate practical solution is that people that want the aesthetics should also be forced against their will to provide a specified location to put them.
What about? No, I got a great idea. Okay. So all throw pillows have to have a little valve. Okay, like a little valve, maybe hidden behind a zipper or whatever.
Okay.
You know those vacuum bags that you can pack stuff into?
Yeah.
The throw pillow has to be made out of one of those. Like not the outside obviously, but like the inside. So that you can just you just take your vacuum over and you have like a little vacuum built into the couch where you just kind of stick the valve. Oh, this is a great idea. And then you have like you only have to have like a tiny little space underneath the couch to put, because couches don't have a lot of space under them, but you could just slide them under the couch. That's a great idea.
Along those lines, what if we just designed like a 3-dimensional cardboard cutout that has like this illusion of paint on it, so it looks like you have this nice throw pillow, but actually just flattens out and sticks underneath the couch so that it looks nice, but then when your guests come, it's something easy to put away. You know?
Right. That would be great. Except for that the very first moment that a child like ran towards the pillow, everyone would go, no! And then in slow motion, they would fall onto the pillow and the pillow would just crumble because it's just cardboard.
What if it was made out of like metal? So instead of hurting the pillow, it just hurts the child, which is easier to deal with.
One of these things has to break. There's too much energy here. One of them has to break. It's a great idea. What if? Here's an idea. What if it was like a projection? You know, like a hologram, like
an anamorphic projection across the couch, so
yes.
that it looks like that pillow.
So that it looks like there's throw pillows there, right? But you wouldn't leave them on all the time because, like, as soon as someone you don't want to sit inside of a projected pillow. That doesn't sound like fun. Like that doesn't sound great. And so what you could do, you could just have like a light switch or something. So you just click the throw pillows on and off.
Interesting.
Then, this is a great, because then they'd be programmable. You can upload like any 3D image of a pillow into the software and project those pillows onto your couch. So it never gets old. You can have color changing pillows. You can have jellyfish pillows. You can have anything you want.
Could you build like an LED screen into the pillow somehow? Like a morphable LED, or into the couch, I should say. And then you could set up the anamorphic projection based on the angle, and it would always know exactly what you want.
Yes. It's a great idea.
Here's one problem, though.
Okay.
There are some ways around this, but anamorphic projections are dependent on angle, the way you're looking at the couch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the surface, right? If you want to make an object look like it's 3D, you have to have a very specific angle that you're looking at it from.
Oh.
But, I mean, that may not be a problem if everyone enters your living room the same way.
Right.
But you can get away with it if you use what's called a miroscope projection.
Ooh, okay.
And so, actually, all you would need is like a hole, a small hole, and then underneath the couch itself would be this elaborate set of mirrors that you use. It's actually not too elaborate. It's basically 2 conic mirrors. Okay. Anyways, basically, you could just put the pillow in the miroscope under your couch, and then put a hole in your couch that kind of shows up at the top, and then it looks
like a hole in the couch. Wait, how big?
Hold on. Listen. Let me get through. Then it would look nice, and the throw pillow or whatever you want to put in the miroscope pops out at the top, and then you could just have like some plug that you put into the hole in the couch.
Oh, like a fabric, like another throw pillow, but like a purposeful throw pillow.
Right, a purposeful pillow that kind of fills in that gap for when people sit down, and then the throw pillow is still there. It's just in the miroscope projection that you have underneath your couch.
But wait, wouldn't it look like it's in like a tunnel though? Like you pull out and you just have this like big black spot with like a throw pillow inside of it. Like,
actually, the tunnel would appear above the throw pillow, but as long as it's not lighted, you wouldn't be able to see it. So you'd have to have some lights on the throw pillow, and then you should be able to get overall projection of a throw pillow above the couch. You'd have to calibrate it, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Calibration, we'll do that. You gotta calibrate everything. Goodness. Yes, this sounds like the best idea, and also possible using today's technology.
Right.
I have no problems with this. This would be great. And then you just have a little plug, and you just plug up the hole. Boop boop.
Right.
Like, oh, no more throw pillows. Now you don't have to wait. So what would it be like if you sat where the throw pillow was? Would you be able to see a throw pillow in your body?
Well, as soon as you cover up the hole, you wouldn't be able to see it anymore, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I guess you'd have to build the miroscope off a material that holds its shape under compression. Because someone would probably be sitting on the top of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it'd probably be down there a little bit, but you'd want to be a nice, strong material to also hold the weight of the person.
Oh, jeez, I don't know, man.
You have to keep something in mind. For the people that actually care about aesthetics, practicality isn't an issue. So
that's true.
This might still actually turn into something that people want to do, even if it's completely impractical.
We could come up with the most impractical solution. Because guess what? We already have the most impractical solution. A bunch of throw pillows sitting around all over the house. Dang it. Any more practical would be getting rid of the throw pillows and still having the visual image of the throw pillows. Genius.
But yeah, that's all I can think of right now. But yeah, some type of projection-based technology, definitely the way to go.
Okay, well, I'm almost happy. That almost solved my problem.
That goes in the category with the cards of problem that will probably never ever be solved.
Probably never ever. Still need more technology, more information, more time, more power and money and influence. We need all those things for that one to work out. So yeah, probably never.
I'm sorry for your dilemma. I know the struggle. I think the real practical solution for the moment is designate an area, and if you're a guest, just say, where would you like me to put this?
Oh, yes, yeah. That's what you do. You say, I am going to be sitting on this couch, and I cannot abide these horrible pillows. Where would you like me to...
And then if they say, oh, just wherever, then what you do is you grab everyone's pillows for them. Like, oh, let me get that for you. And then you designate your own spot.
Oh, that's good. I thought you were going to say, like, grab everyone's pillows and throw them at the feet of the homeowner, or throw them in their face or something. That's what I thought. That's where I thought that was going. I was like, oh yes, stick it to the man.
And then you just tip over the couch and turn over the coffee table and then leave.
Make all their pictures not straight on the wall anymore, and turn their rug upside down and tip the trash can over and walk out just like a cat would.
I can't handle your aesthetics.
Yeah, you think I could just put this anywhere? Well, let me just put this anywhere and this anywhere. We'll just put the couch wherever. Yeah, that's a great idea. Just put the pictures wherever. Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna start giving people a warning, like when they have you visiting. Like,
Yeah.
hey, do you have any throw pillows? Yeah, you're gonna want to put this away before Aaron comes. Otherwise, it's just gonna wreck your house.
You give him a little card that has the little dialogue of what he's supposed to say. Because if he doesn't say those exact words, the Aaron will become enraged and destroy the property and leave.
Right.
Easy peasy.
But this also could lead to our full solution too, in
Okay.
the much more negative way.
Okay.
If everyone went into rage when throw pillows aren't properly accounted for, I think people would start accounting for them a lot more.
Right, yeah.
They'd have a solution for their own throw pillows or start getting rid of them.
Right. Yeah. They would.
Maybe we could just start a rebellion of some sort, or a revolution, that anytime anyone sees throw pillows at someone's house, they just throw a rage and cause a havoc, and then people just will, out of fear, no longer have throw pillows. Not the best solution, but it would be effective.
Yes. The best. I don't need the best. I need one that will work. And this sounds like it might work.
So you and I had a experience the other week. Your wife attended my wife's baby shower, and we both weren't at the baby shower, right? So we got to hang out, just the two of us, which was pretty fun.
It was magical. Yeah.
Which is a rare occurrence, even with this podcast.
Indeed.
Hanging out in person is not as common.
Yeah. The podcast is the most contact that we have ever since we moved apart from each other.
It's true. But anyways, I presented you with a challenge. Not really a challenge, but more of a quest, if you will.
Yes.
And that quest was to try an Impossible Burger. And it's my understanding that up to that point, you had not tried one.
Correct.
As I had not either. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the audio for the listeners, because we recorded that experience of us trying an Impossible Burger for the first time. So here's that audio.
Let's get it on.
So me and Aaron are here trying our first ever Impossible Burger.
Hollywood. There you go. There's the Hollywood.
Fake burger. See how it actually tastes.
It's a fake burger. Better name for it. There you go.
That's pretty good.
I mean,
Obviously not the best burger I've ever had,
right.
but if you didn't tell me otherwise, I don't know if I could tell you that it was fake.
Yeah, no.
You can tell something's a little different,
Something's a little off, yeah.
but
not enough, like, because I ordered burgers that are, like, piled with stuff and sauce, you know? Because, like, food is merely a delivery device for my sauce. And so, like, if this had more stuff on it, like, make it a Western bacon cheeseburger. It's like, like, holy moly, like.
If I was blindly consuming food in my rage to get as much into my mouth as possible, I don't think I would even notice.
Yes.
There is something a little different, but
right.
not enough to take away from it tasting really good.
Yep. I give it a solid thumbs up.
Agreed. So based on that recording, it was pretty clear to me that we both enjoyed it, and that I'd be willing to have one again.
Oh yeah.
And so I guess, what is your overall thoughts on this whole Beyond Meat Impossible Burger business that's been going on?
Right. Well, so overall thoughts is I'm very glad that this is becoming a thing. Like, I approve greatly of minimizing and reducing the amount of meat people eat. I don't want it to go away. I'm not like crazy. Not that people are crazy. But things like a hamburger, like the meat matters so little to me that it's like we really should try and minimize the amount of meat used in a burger. And so trying an Impossible Burger, it was the thing that comes to mind is that it was unremarkable. I haven't thought about it a lot since because it tastes like a hamburger, you know.
So it's interesting that you say that the meat on a burger doesn't matter to you as much as the other stuff on a burger. Because I have kind of the opposite opinion. Like if you have bad meat on a burger, to me, like the meat's kind of the main detail I'm going for, right?
Really?
Yeah, I'm not really big into condiments and onions and tomatoes and all that stuff you can throw on a burger that's extra. What I'm really focusing on is the juicy aspect of the burger itself, the juiciness of the meat.
What? But
I'm sorry that is disappointing to you.
It's not disappointing. It's just surprising. It's always surprising to hear other people's points of view that are different than yours. But it's just surprising because, like, that's all that the burger is. So the burger is the delivery device. Like, yes, it can't be bad. Like, it can't taste burned. Like, you can't have burned meat. You can't have like bad meat. It can't taste rancid. You know, that would make the burger bad. But then once you achieve like mediocrity with the hamburger, then like I almost don't care.
It just flat lines for you at that point once it's reached a certain quality.
Well, it doesn't determine the burger after that. It's not like, oh, you know, the burger's not good because the meat's only mediocre. Like, this is only a mediocre burger. It's like however they made the burger, like it's going to be as good as I don't know. It's like it doesn't have such a weight on it, you know? Does that make sense? Like it doesn't weigh the scales so much after you reach mediocrity. After that, I can just be like, well, just pile it full of barbecue sauce and fry sauce and onion rings and bacon and cheese and just grind, man. Just grind. This is food, man. Just grind.
Yeah, that is, again, all the other stuff's just like, well, you're just disguising the meat as much as possible, but I just want to get to the meat, you know? Anyways, the fact that we're having this conversation is a good sign.
Yeah.
I guess we should probably explain what Impossible Burger is in detail in case we totally went over people's heads if they haven't heard this.
Yes. This seems wise.
Yeah, so sorry if you weren't following along that whole time. I just realized that.
Yeah.
The whole reason we're having this conversation is there's been this big movement recently. Two big companies have been leading it. One's called Impossible Meat and one's called Beyond Meat, I believe. Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And their goal is to make a completely non-animal based meat product. It doesn't use any meat from an animal, especially the big focus seems to be on hamburger. Right? Can you make hamburger or something that tastes like hamburger that doesn't actually come from a cow?
Right.
And the reason this is such a big deal, and the reason I've been interested in up to this point, I saw a video by Mark Rober, which I'll put in the show notes, and he really does a good job of explaining why this would be something that's really useful. It's really not just hey, here's a vegetarian or vegan alternative to meat. The goal is much more of let's get more meat eaters to eat alternative products. And the reason why they want to do this is if you look at the statistics, this is what really blew my mind, is if you look at the amount of water and the amount of crops that are used to feed cows and chickens in the U.S., it's actually more than the amount of water for the crops and the amount of crops that are used to feed humans directly in the U.S.
Yep.
We use more land area to feed animals than we do to feed humans. And so as these alternatives develop, if we can lower our dependence on cows especially, then we can use more of that space and more of that those resources for actually feeding humans directly.
Yeah.
Which is very much something of concern later down the road for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's like the number one reason that I feel, I don't know, both like whatever towards it, and also like it needs to be a bigger thing. Because right now I think they're a little bit pricier than just regular hamburgers, which is kind
We'll
of,
get to that in a second.
yeah, which is annoying, but I don't know. It got really serious for me just now because this is a major topic issue, with climate change and the global economy and all these different global issues. The consumption of meat corresponds directly to that in some ways, and if we can reduce that in any way, that would just be just phenomenal. It's so good. And the one thing that really started getting me thinking about this was I watched, again, a YouTube video. We're not experts. We just watch YouTube videos. But I watched.
We talk about people that are experts
Yeah.
in this podcast. That's really what happens.
Right. We discuss our opinions on other people's opinions that actually know things. So, is my opinion worth anything? Not really, but
Our totally biased opinions on other people's qualified opinions.
yeah.
Is what we talk about on this show.
Right. I watched a Kurzgesagt video, which is they're just educators, and they do really good jobs with their videos. They put a lot of time into them, a lot of research. They look really good, and they have very factual data that they back up with. And I watched a video about dairy production and like, is dairy bad for you? And the answer was like, not really. Like it's not really that bad for you. People make it out to be kind of a bad thing for you to drink, but it's not as bad as as people are saying it is.
Right.
But the one thing that caught my mind from the video was that the thing, if anything was to keep you from drinking a lot of dairy, the thing that would keep me from drinking a lot of dairy was that a lot of our dairy comes from less than ideal conditions for the animals.
Right.
And therefore, like, we're increasing animal suffrage when we consume more animal products because they're often taken from factory farms, and that's not good. Like, that's not a good place. It's important, but it's just they do suffer, because of our consumption, and that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing.
I do have to clarify something you said. To be clear, we are increasing their suffering, not their suffrage. We're not increasing their voting rights.
Right. Sorry, I might have misspoke. It's the suffering. They feel bad. They're getting hurt. They're not living good lives. And there are farms that work towards combating that, but often
money wins. That's the key.
It's cheaper, and yeah. So I'm really happy for the Impossible Burger movement, and I want it to be a little bit faster than it is. It's kind of slow right now, and I think it should just be, especially since I don't really care about how high quality the burger is, because it's like the Impossible Burger, it was a mediocre burger, it wasn't amazing, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the best fake meat I've ever had. Well, it actually was, but that's beside the point.
But that wasn't your thought, like, oh, this is amazing fake meat.
Right. So now I'm curious, because you care a lot more about the meat. What did you think about the burger?
So this comes to an interesting point. Like you were saying, I don't foresee anytime soon that will remove our complete reliance on cows and meat, etc. You're going to have meat for a long time. It's going to be many, many years before you can have a completely viable alternative.
Right.
And if I'm going out to get a burger again, I'm probably not buying an Impossible Burger.
Right.
Because it's not quite as good and it's much more expensive, like we've talked about. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking things, because you can buy Impossible Meats and Beyond Meat products at the grocery store, they're still expensive. But if you're making like tacos or putting your meat in meat pie or whatever it might be, the different meals people make.
A casserole.
I don't think I'd really care at that point for the meat if it's just in some of the home stuff we make. I think they're at the point that the quality is good enough that it's really part of the conversation. Like, I talked to my dad about it, and he's like, oh, it's like the soy meat that they would sell or have at like the schools, the really crappy school hamburgers that weren't actually meat. And I was trying to like tell him, like, no, like, this is different. There's actually a whole lot of research that went into this, that they use all sorts of hemoglobin sources from plants and things to try and get the juiciness and the texture to match. And so it's not just like the simple soy alternatives that we've had forever that are really poor quality.
Right.
So he couldn't quite understand that.
Right, yeah.
Or I should say he wouldn't listen to that. Point being is, like, I think it's finally at the level of quality that it would be something I'd be willing to put into most of the meals I make at home.
Yeah.
But the one problem is the phrase they keep using is a no compromise solution, right? It has the same taste and it has the same texture. And so meat eaters don't have to compromise. But there's still one thing you have to compromise on, and that's price.
Yeah.
As soon as the price gets down, that it's the same or even just like a tiny bit more expensive, but close to the same as actual meat, I think I'll start buying it.
Yeah?
I really do. I really would I'd be willing to say, you know what, like, let's just start putting in our home cooked meals. Why not?
Right. Well, and my uneducated opinion is that the price is directly related to the economics of the situation, in that lots of people make meat from cows. Like, there's lots of meat producers, and that drives price down. Also, people are more willing to buy just regular meat products because people are used to it. It's a lot easier to accept. Oh, this is just meat. It's just what I use all the time in my food. And so there's that, and so the demand is a little bit lower, as well as the technology is new and they're not mass producing. Because once you start really getting production going, that's when big savings comes in. That's when you can really save on producing the product. It's like factory farms. It's a lot cheaper to stuff tons of animals into small spaces,
right,
and just shovel food into them. Like, that's cheaper than what they're doing to make the Beyond Meat. And so it's like, instead of, you understand what I'm saying.
Right. It's the hard part of, we have to have more people wanting this to happen. But while the prices are higher, less people are going to be willing to do it. And so you have to have growth continue to occur, even though it's not in the balance right now.
Right. And so I guess my thoughts culminate in that, if this is like not directed at you personally, but like, if people want to see this product be a thing, we should invest more money into it, because that'll show that our use of our money shows the economy what we want. And if we want Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat, then the economy will give it to us. And so it's almost like we have to bite the bullet on the new technology because it's expensive.
Right.
If you really want to see a big change. And this is actually changing my mind a little bit on how I'm going to shop for meat. I think it's gonna push me to buy some more of that stuff.
Right. My initial thought was like, even just like, if you buy 3 pounds of hamburger a week, buy 1 pound of this and 2 pounds of regular hamburger, something like that.
Yeah. That would make a massive impact, I think, if a third of all meat bought became Beyond Meat. Like, they would be rushing to increase capacity to sell the stuff. It would be flying off the shelves, and they'd have to buy more facilities and hire more people, and it'd be good.
Right. But the other side of me is also thinking of my game theory classes and going, this is just like the prisoner's dilemma. It's like, if I bite the bullet and start buying this meat, but no one else is buying the bullet, then I'm just spending extra money for no reason.
Right.
It's like, well, I don't want to bite the bullet unless you bite the bullet. So you bite it first, and then I'll bite the bullet.
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty with the problem.
That is the interesting. I think that's the thing that causes a lot of people to not do little things that might be helpful later on, rather than just doing whatever they wanted to. That's like I think that's the thing that stops us from sometimes doing the things that we think are more important, because it's like, well, if I do it, no one else will do it, so I'll be getting the worst side of this deal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sad, but that's how the math shows. Like, that's how things work.
Sadly, Well, and doubly, I appreciate. Sorry, this is like kind of off topic, but I really appreciate that it's like an alternative. Like it's a good alternative at like fast food restaurants for people who don't want to eat
Right.
meat, like people who are trying to eat vegetarian or need to eat vegetarian or vegan. Like,
Right.
there's an option. You can go out with your friends and get yourself some grinds. It's good times.
Right. And I think that's more of what those burgers are intended for right now. And again, like I said, like when I go out to eat, I'm still going to treat myself to a nice juicy burger because that's what I want.
Right, exactly.
But if it gets to the point that everyday types of things can be using this alternative, that'd be huge. That'd be absolutely huge for, usage of land, but it would just lead to a movement that leads to less, animal suffering because we don't need as much manufacturing and slaughterhouses essentially and all these plants and stuff like that. Anyways, so I'm excited for it, but I do see a lot of roadblocks that we'll have to overcome to beat it out.
Yep. And I'm hopeful that we'll just get over those. There's enough happening that I think we'll be in good shape, especially with the space age upon us. It's easier to grow plants than take care of animals in space. What?
So I'm gonna categorize this as problem well solved soon.
Soon, yeah. Problem solved coming soon.
Right.
Yeah. I like it. That's a good. Oh, I like that pile, that new pile that we just created.
Has one card in it for now. We'll see. That's an interesting one to think about. Problems well solved eventually, soon.
Eventually, yes.
Or is that a different pile? Like, we'll get there some point.
Someday. I don't know. I think that might be a different pile because then there's like recent problems well solved, and then there's like, but really, since we solved so many problems on this podcast, really the only thing that we need to determine for each of the piles is like the timeline. Like, when is it going to get solved? Soon? Long time? Really? Nearly never? Probably never? Like, these are all different piles.
Give up all hope.
Yeah. All ye who enter. Abandon hope. Yes.
I like it. Well, as you know, my friend, I was gone last week at another conference. This goes way back to episode 2 of Save the World.
Whoa.
Where we discussed that computer vision conference I went to 2 summers ago.
Oof, was it that long ago? Oof.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about. And it was weird to see people at this conference from that conference and go, oh, yeah, I remember you. I've met you before.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I have a totally random side note that I have to ask you about. I'm just curious.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the game Cornhole? The one where you have the 2 like wooden planks kind of 10 feet away from each other, and you toss the beanbags trying to get into the little hole on each side.
Is it just a beanbag toss?
It's like a beanbag toss, but it's kind of a slightly angled ramp. And if you get in the hole, it's 3 points, and if you get on the board, it's 1 point, and you go back and forth tossing the beanbags.
It's like horseshoes, but with beanbag. It's like a grown-up version of the beanbag game. Cornhole. Okay, is it because the bags are full of corn instead of beans?
I have no idea.
Okay.
The reason I bring this up is I was watching ESPN when I was at the conference.
What? Okay.
And they had the Cornhole Championships.
What?
Final round on ESPN.
Oh, man. Was it intense? Was it good? Was it intense?
The reason I'm bringing this up is, yes, it was very interesting, actually, to watch this game. Because in my mind, right, obviously the goal of the game is to get the bag into the hole. Right. But the problem is that level, they're so good that if they did that, it would just be constant ties. Because they're just, I'll throw into the hole, and then you throw into the hole,
Right, yeah.
Easy peasy.
You just get too good.
Everyone gets the full amount of points to be a tie every time.
Yeah.
And so what was actually really interesting is that they had to strategize. And so they wouldn't get their beanbags into the hole. They'd intentionally block the hole with one of their beanbags.
What?
And they were trying to set up walls around the hole with their own beanbags. And then on their last toss, they would try and hit in their beanbags that are making this wall and get those as many of theirs as they can in while still blocking the other person's set of beanbags.
What? Weird. What? Weird.
Yeah, and it was crazy too because like some of these throws, I saw one where the guy, his opponent had set up an entire wall of beanbags, right? And the guy throws it, and he throws it at an angle so that his beanbag rolls over the top of the wall and gets in the hole.
What? No, like a little like climbing robot. Like what?
Yeah, it was crazy to see how skilled they were at
Wow.
this game, and yeah, all sorts of things. I saw one where he like spun it, it went past the hole and then rolled back in. Did a backspin on his beanbag, and
right?
hit.
Yeah.
Some of these throws were just like amazing to watch.
Wow.
Anyways, I was just curious if you'd seen this,
No,
and if you haven't, you should look up some highlights on YouTube or something.
That's great. I was wondering what Cornhole Championships was. I was like, "Ooh, yes, this couldn't be interesting if nothing else." And indeed, it is.
But it does bring up another point that I think is fun to talk about, and I try to bring this up with people a lot when they say, "Oh, I don't like sports," or "I don't like chess," or "I don't like whatever it may be." Right? I think it's fun to watch anyone, no matter what it is, at the top of their craft.
Okay, yeah.
I think if you don't enjoy that, I think it means you don't understand the craft well enough. And so that's what I always tell people about sports. Some people say, "Oh, I don't like basketball," or "I don't like football." And it's like, well, do you know the rules, first of all?
Right, yeah.
And then I say, well, even if you know the rules, there's still subtleties. Like with basketball, like, do you understand what a pick and roll is? Do you understand when someone has opened up space and when someone's able to do an ankle breaker? Like, there's many aspects that are often very subtle to someone unless you've seen and understand the top level of that craft. If you have enough of the detail to know the top level of that craft, I think it's enjoyable to watch it, no matter what the craft is. Whether it's cornhole or sports or just like woodworking too. Like, I imagine you've seen some pretty amazing stuff with cabinets.
Yeah, for sure.
If you really see the top level of someone doing their craft, I think it's always fun to watch no matter what.
That's interesting. The first thing that jumped to my mind was I watched some videos of a CNC. It's like the letters CNC. It's a computerized system for carving things in real life. It's you put designs into a computer and you say, I want this on this piece of wood. I use one at work to cut out parts for cabinet pieces, and they can do anything. But I was really curious about lathes and how like, do they have CNC lathes? And it turns out they do, and they were incredible to watch. I watched some incredible videos of that, and I think I have the same feeling, but I have it a lot more tied to the thing and less to the people. Like to see machines at their best, like the best, like the Boston Dynamics machines and the rockets and the CNCs. You know, I love to see the most amazing machinery, and it's kind of that same thing of, if you don't appreciate this, like, you don't understand what it's doing, you don't understand how complicated what it's really doing is.
Right. Wow, is this the first time where you're appreciating the robot side of things more than I am?
Quite possibly.
Wow, I need to like write this down in my journal or something. This is weird. Maybe just because I'm so familiar with robots, like the magic has gone away. And
Right. Well, and it's like, I don't know. It's like SpaceX landing their 50th rocket. Like, I watched the video, and like they did it 49 times already, right? But I still got so excited to see the 50th one land. Like, I understand what's going on, but still to see it do the thing, I'm just like, this is amazing. So that's
right.
weird. That's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, again, going the opposite way, like just the subtle things of life, like pottery and woodworking and crocheting, whatever it is. I'm always super impressed with people. Like, there's this lady that went to my wife's baby shower, and she gave us a like fully built from scratch baby doll for our daughter to play with.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's got all the yarn to look like hair, and the clothes is like sewn in. And I just look at it and go, I could never build that. I could never make that thing. And so just looking at that result is really cool to me. And even though I don't like knitting or yarn or anything you really make with yarn or any of that side of things, I just look at that and go, wow, like that's cool to see. That's cool that someone made this.
That's so cool. I couldn't agree more. Like it's like this is why it's like so interesting to me when we get to talking about computer stuff, because you're like on some of the cutting edge of some of the computer things, and it's like this is amazing. Like you people are the best in this profession. You guys are doing the most amazing work and the most innovative work out of anyone. And I agree, it's so interesting to watch and to see. I have a much harder time with sports though. Like you're talking about how sports, like you feel the same way, and it's like, yeah, I can agree with that, but in some ways, like some sports just don't interest me at all. I don't know.
Well, and again, it's not like, take baseball for example.
Okay.
I don't like baseball. I really don't. It's slow. It's boring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I understand the rules, and I understand some of the intricacies. Like, I feel like I'm close enough to a high level to understand, what makes some of the things exciting in baseball that people really appreciate about it.
Right. Okay.
And that doesn't mean I'll watch baseball every time a game's on.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I don't enjoy baseball. I'm not going to watch it. But even with that said, if the World Series is on, I have to watch it.
Okay.
Because I just appreciate, I go, man, here are the two teams at the highest level of their game playing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just go, man, they have so much ability at this point, and the stakes are so high. That's another thing that makes it fun, is if the stakes are high,
yeah,
they're the masters of their craft, and you're just watching and going, what's going to happen? Like, what does this lead to? Mm-hmm. Then I still enjoy it. Like, I love watching any championship game of a sport I don't understand, even if it's cornhole, for example.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Or not that I don't understand, that I just don't regularly watch.
Right.
Right? Like, just like the cornhole example, I wouldn't go watch cornhole games all day. Mm-hmm. But just seeing someone at the top of the tier, the best they can be, especially if it's competitive or it results in some piece of work or some accomplishment, that just always fascinates me. I always enjoy that.
Yeah. That has to be what makes like the Olympics interesting to watch. Like it'd be boring.
Yeah,
if it was
that's
a
a good
example.
example.
Like, or a bunch of like medium good. They're good, but they're not amazing. These people have been selected from countries as the best of the best. And they're all going to compete with each other for to be the best in the world, and it's so cool.
Well, I just think even like going to the Olympics, you wouldn't go through all the qualifiers. Mm-hmm. Like even the Olympics, once you get there, there's still like qualifier rounds and semifinals, etc.
Right.
And some of those I won't ever watch.
No, yeah.
But most of the sports, if it's like this is the final round, you have the best in the world at that point.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just fun to watch, no matter what it is. It can be something silly, but even things I don't usually consider a sport, like curling. That's a different story.
What?
Right?
Wait.
That's Winter Olympics.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Do you like curling? Did I step on some toes?
I like it. It's the only sport that I look at that I think, man, that's a game I could actually play. Like that's a game that I don't have to be the most physically fit person in the whole world to play that game. Like anyone can play that game. That's a game. That's anyone's game.
I think that's exactly why I don't want it in the Olympics. But that's besides the point.
That's fair. No, that's fair. That's a good point.
Anywho, I just thought that was interesting, and I think that is a fun part of just life in general. I don't know if you call this a problem well solved, but just being able to participate in events where you get to see people at their best, the best in the world, or the best at something specifically. It's always entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I didn't know how I was going to tie that into the conference itself, but you mentioned, speaking of people at the top of their tier.
Right, yeah.
Top of their craft. Yeah, I was at this computer vision conference. So this one was the winter. Oh, I always forget the abbreviation, but the winter conference on the applications of computer vision. But everyone just calls it WACV.
WACV. Okay, yeah. I was like, what does that turn into? What does that turn into? How do I?
They drop a C in there, but it's okay. Everyone just calls it WACV.
That's fine. Yeah.
I was at this conference. It was really fun, and this was really cool because it was the first time I was presenting a paper for my degree in computer science.
Wait, exciting.
Yeah. So it was really cool. I got to present my research. It was the same stuff my thesis work was on.
Did you have like an auditorium full of people? Like, were all eyes on you?
So it wasn't an auditorium. It was more, I don't know. It's hard to describe because if you've ever been to like a convention center for Comic-Con or something like that, right? There's always those big open areas for people to gather. But those conference centers always have like side rooms where they do meetings and they'll do presentations.
Right.
For conferences like this. And so it wasn't really an auditorium. It was more just rows of chairs and tables. And it was maybe 300 people there.
Whoa.
So
were you intimidated, or was it just like, it's just another day in the office?
No, I mean, again, I'm a teacher, so standing in front of people is not a big deal. The hard thing for me was because there's been so many papers accepted to these conferences, the presentation time is 3 minutes.
What? Oh, so you only had 3 minutes? What?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 minutes to present. And so the crazy thing is you don't even get slides. What they make you do is they make you record a video of you going through the slides.
Oh.
So you can't even slow down. Like, it is 3 minutes exactly.
Right. You only they've got it down.
Your video has to be less than 3 minutes, and you have that time. And you have to just remember, right? You just have to recite your script over and over till you can match the slides that you pressed when you first recorded it to show what you were doing for your research. So that was really intimidating. Yeah. Or not intimidating, more just like anxiety building, because it's like, it's so hard to match that exactly. And I had animations and transitions showing exactly what it was doing, and it's hard to talk at the exact speed that the animations are going that you want to show your point.
Right. Did you have to look at the audience, or could you watch the video and talk at the same time?
So you could have your script. They had a little screen of your video, so you could see right in front of you where it was at.
Okay, yeah.
And then there was the audience. So I was kind of just like going back and forth.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah.
But the nice thing was, when I was there, I was on the very first session. So after that, it wasn't like I did my part and I was done, and I could spend the rest of the time enjoying other people's work, which was really nice. So it wasn't quite like, I gotta wait for my presentation coming up or focus on that. So it was nice to just kind of have it out of the way.
Yeah, just slam jam, get it out, get done. Did anyone like talk to you about it afterwards, or was it just like, really?
Yeah. So what happens is, nowadays, what the standard seems to be is once you've done your presentation, a lot of conferences will do a poster session right after.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone that presented also does a poster so that people that have questions can come talk to you directly.
Right, like a science fair, but
everyone in there has a PhD. Or is trying to get one.
The grown-up version of a science fair.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it was really good. It was fun to talk to people. Had probably 15 people come talk to me after. 3 of them are really interested and want to kind of talk about stuff later and potentially do further work. So that's really good.
Awesome. That's so cool.
But going along with that, I still feel like conferences have a major problem that I originally brought up with CVPR back in the day, way back on episode 2. And they're still really inefficient.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting information, and it's still really hard to network with people in this format.
Right.
Because there's so many people there, and it was nice. To be fair, it was easier this time because I was presenting my own work. But really, the only people I met that like I really got to know were the ones that came to talk to me about my poster.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I guess you could argue I should have done a little bit better about going to other people's posters, which I did. But it was just hard because I didn't feel like I was their work didn't really apply to mine as much as I felt like our work was too disparate that I didn't really get to meet people that would be beneficial to keep talking to later down the road.
Right.
Unless they came directly to me and say, we want to keep working on this project and we think we have tie-ins to your project, etc.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I would never. I would be a hypocrite if I was like, oh, you should have just talked to more people, because it's like
Right.
I gain nothing out of conferences generally because I don't talk to anyone. Like, we go to a comic convention and I'm just like, I'll just stand here, let's go look at the shops and let's not talk to anyone. Don't talk to anyone. Nobody at all. Like,
right.
You give people a thumbs up when you see a cool costume. Like, that's it. That's all you do. You don't talk to people. Like, that's too much social pressure.
Right. Well, and this brings me to a point that it looks like you wanted to talk about as well, and maybe this would be a good time for you to elaborate on context, but I never know where to just start with conversations with someone that you've never met.
Right.
It's easier a little bit with research because you can focus on the research.
Yeah.
But you never really get to know them, so it's hard because you just associate a paper, not really a face or
Right.
This person did this. I just see, oh, this was something new that came out.
Yeah.
Right. I don't really get to know the person that made it.
Right.
I was curious what your thoughts were on this matter that I saw you had in the notes.
Yeah. Conversation starter. I get tired of there are certain people. Okay, here's okay. So a convention in my mind is one of the easier places to start conversations, like to get something going. Just anything, because you're all there talking about the same thing. You're all there talking about computer. Like, you're all a bunch of computer nerds. Like, you can all talk about computers. If I went to a cabinet convention, if I went to Vegas to see the cabinetry convention that they have in Vegas, like the big woodworkers show, like, yeah, I would have things to talk about with all the people there, because like, I do cabinets. I can talk cabinets. Except for one time, I tried to talk to somebody who did cabinets as well, and I'm like, it's like my uncle-in-law, I think. Oh, so awkward. Oh, it was horrible because they didn't want to talk cabinets, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I obviously didn't know enough, and we weren't on the same page, and it was just horribly awkward. So that didn't go great, and I haven't talked to him since, really. So that was great, but it's all good. Anyway, I get tired of being around people with nothing to talk about. I don't want to dominate the conversation because, as you know full well, if I get going on something, I can talk for a long time about stuff that I really like. Like, anyone can do that. Like, that's really easy to talk about the things that you're really interested in. But the problem that I have is finding things that you're both interested in that you can talk about.
Right.
Like, asking what questions could one ask to get to the bottom of what your likes and dislikes are, without having to be like, do you like space travel? Do you like video games? Do you like cabinets?
Let me get you my list.
Right, yeah.
Let's fit into any of these categories.
We'll just do a straight comparison. Like, that would be great, except for that it's boring, and then it doesn't feel naturally spawned. It feels like you're trying to make conversation, and I want it to be a little bit more like, my dream is questions that I can ask that'll get people to talk about stuff that they don't talk about, or that they're interested in, or that I might be interested in. I don't know. That's the goal. That was
a silver bullet question that will always lead to a conversation.
Right, and not even one. I wouldn't mind having 300. I just need any number of them. I need somewhere to start with. It's like
right.
Sometimes my in-laws' family dinner gets really weird because it's like, I don't have anything to talk about with these people, and they don't have anything to talk about with me. None of us have similar interests. So what are we all doing here? What are we going to talk about?
Right.
And I want so this is how it segues. It's like, there has to be some way. There has to be some questions, some things that we can ask, whether at a convention, because talking about, like, the problem that you bring up, it's like, talking about work is great, but like, I want to know more about you as well as your work.
Right.
Like, I don't want to just talk about work.
Well, this brings up an interesting point that I haven't thought about it directly until this moment, but I remember I used to always appreciate my dad Sorry, I still do appreciate my dad. But
I used to appreciate him back in the day.
I used to appreciate him. No, I should say I used to have a flawed view of my dad.
Yeah.
Because he could talk to anybody. It seemed like he was one of those people that just could always start a conversation with anyone, and he still is that way.
Yeah, I can confirm. I met your dad. Yeah.
Yes. But I realized something interesting about my dad, and he's very good at finding these interests, like you say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly because his interests are statistically very highly interesting to most people in the population.
Yeah,
there's a high percentage of the population that likes what he likes.
Right.
Because if you think of my dad's interests, he loves sports.
Easy.
He loves football and basketball. He loves movies.
Oh, yep. Okay, yep.
He loves 80s rock and 70s rock. So if he's ever talking to anyone that's similar in age, instantly that was like the only music you listened to back then.
Right.
Yes. What was on the radio was what everyone listened to. It's not like it is today where everyone kind of has their own
little pocket. A
little pocket that they listen to. I there's still very popular songs nowadays.
But
back then there was still some groups, but overall everyone listened to pretty much the same stuff on the radio. He obviously loves his family and likes talking about kids and what people are doing. He's a teacher. So he loves talking about, what are people doing with careers? What do they want to do in school?
Yeah.
And so it was interesting when he first met my wife's dad, my father-in-law, because my father-in-law likes country music. He roots for the opposing team that my dad likes in basketball and football. He's not a huge sports fan overall. He doesn't watch movies as much. He more likes TV shows.
Oh man.
And like they still got along fine, but watching my dad try and talk to my father-in-law was just interesting because my dad would go after one after another of his common interests that he can usually get people talking about.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law just had, no interest in those particular things. And so it just really hurt the conversation. So it seemed a little bit awkward at that time, but again, there's not really any issues there. It's more just, it was interesting to see that my dad was just using the things that he liked to try and make those connections.
Yeah.
But when those things didn't exist, he wasn't this, magical crafter of connections that I thought he was. He's just using highly likely possibilities of connections that have worked for him throughout the years.
Right. Well, was not very awkward. You mean as awkward as it could ever be for for two people who don't have anything to talk about? It's horrible. I don't like that at all. But yeah.
To your point, I think people that think they're these amazing conversationalists, at times, I think it's more that they just happen to like more the things that most people like. They're often into pop culture. They're often into sports or politics or movie. There's these kind of fields that people try to connect with. And so when people are like, oh, it's easy to talk to people, I'm always like, is it though? Or is it just happen to be easy for you? Because it's always worked out that way.
Because you got lucky.
Right. Like there's obviously introverts and there's extroverts.
Yeah.
But I've often wondered about that because I'm introverted in some cases, but like if I need to make a conversation, I'm happy to talk to people.
Yeah.
But I realized this a while back when this occurred, and just through the years, I kind of realized that if I have certain things I go for when I try and make connections, generally, if I'm making the same connections my dad is, I'm about as successful as him.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to talk to people.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess the whole point of this is just be like my dad and have the same interests my dad has, and then you'll be good.
And then life is a lot smoother and a lot better. See, that's where it's like, as soon as you said all those words about your dad liking certain things, my brain started running with it, and all of a sudden I thought, but I'm not going to change my interests. I have my own interests. Like I'm not just going to be interested in everything so that I can talk to anyone. That's not my job. My job is not to talk to everyone.
Right.
Okay, no, so your point about how you feel like in some situations you're very introverted and others you can be extroverted. I think I'm of the opinion. Okay, here's my Aaron's opinion 101
Okay.
is that like because that's the same way I feel. Like I don't like talking to people. I don't enjoy talking to people. I enjoy working by myself in an empty shop for 8 hours a day. Like that is enjoyable to me. I enjoy not having
Right.
anyone to talk to. Uh, but just because you're introverted doesn't mean you don't have a part of your brain that you can spin up. It just takes a lot more work to spin that up and to get that going.
Right.
Because I can be extroverted. I can talk to people. I can talk to random people. I'll but it's yeah, it's you have to get into it though. You have to spin it up, and it's not like it's easy. It's just
Right.
it's just a thing. So
I think you're totally right. Going back to my dad, I would definitely say he likes talking to people more than I like talking to people.
mm-hmm.
So he also has developed that skill, obviously, much better than I have overall.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
But we're both still teachers, and we both still know how to talk to people, right?
Yeah.
But I think our generation specifically suffers from this problem because there's so much more niches. There's so many more niches in the world
You know
than there
what?
were in my dad's time.
That's a you have opened my eyes just now. That's a very good point. I hadn't thought of that. But that's the thing that I appreciate, but also you have just shown a light on how might be causing more of the problem.
Right. I just think to my students, for example,
Mhm.
because I send out these little surveys at the beginning of the year of, tell me about yourself so I can get to know you better,
Right.
type thing.
Right.
And I'm always interested. I have them fill out like favorite movie or favorite character or favorite TV show or favorite book,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I never have any convergence on that question. Right? I have TV shows that students list that I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I'm not like a huge
You're not.
movie guy or TV guy. I don't spend a lot of time
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see, like, if you're into anime or if you're into reality TV or if you're into whatever it may be,
Mhm.
within that there's already niches. And now there's those are niches that didn't exist, 30
Yeah.
years ago,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
And my students never answer that question the same way, and hardly do I ever even know what they're talking about. And so it's just really hard because their interest in a certain show is completely different than anything I've ever experienced. Or even just thinking about YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
This also always makes me feel old. I'll reference a YouTube video from a couple years ago that I'm positive was like universally watched by everyone. Like everyone knew this show or this video I watched, and I'll mention no one's heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how is that possible? Like you were watching YouTube 2 years ago, and I was watching YouTube 2 years ago, and surely this was popping up on your feed 100 times, like it was popping up on mine.
Uh-huh.
But it's just so disparate with what people experience based on what their interests are nowadays.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it really hard to say, oh, did you watch this and this and this last night? Or did you see the game last night? Or did you see... Because it's very unlikely that they did, because their interests are so varied. There's so many different
Right.
subgroups in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And so finding those commonalities are harder.
I agree. I don't know how this doesn't relate to helping solve the problem, but that's a very good like I don't know. I appreciate this light that has been shed on this topic because I feel like I have been enlightened. My mind feels more able to deal with the difficulty of talking to people because
Right.
it's exactly my wife has the same problem sometimes with me because she'll be like, "Wait, you never saw that YouTube video? Like you never saw it?" It's like, no,
Right.
like I didn't really hang out on the internet a ton, or we. Whoa, I need to slow down just a little bit. My brain and heart and breath are going faster than I can keep up with. But music is the same way.
Right.
I don't listen to anything that you'd hear on the radio. Like, there's nothing.
Right.
Because I have a very specific taste in music, and I only have one other of our mutual friends, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15,
Right.
that I can actually accurately share music interest with on a regular basis, because they're the only person that listens to something similar to what I listen to. It is this really great and really weird thing about the information age and the age that we live in, where there's the ability for people to create content a lot faster and a lot easier. Just like YouTube videos, anyone can make a YouTube video. I could make a YouTube video right now, sitting here,
Right.
filming, I don't know, like my hands playing with this little string, and like there's a niche for that. There's people who watch videos about that thing or around that thing, and it's kind of it's almost like segregating, because now people can actually dive into their own interests rather than I don't want to say exactly how I'm thinking it, but basically, like, rather than being chained to what the most popular thing is, you can do whatever you want. You can learn about and create and be whatever you want to be.
Right. Well, I think the benefit and the con of this is that your groups aren't physically based anymore.
Yeah.
I love watching educational YouTube videos. Right. I love watching channels where they're constantly exploring some idea or trying to explain something in a way that I've never thought about before.
Yeah.
Right. And those channels have, millions of views. But I'm guessing most of the people I talk to in a day never watch any of the channels that I am subscribed to.
They haven't ever seen that video. Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe if I went to the conference, right, and talked to a lot of those people, right, they probably would.
Right. Yeah.
But my grouping of the community that I interact with the most on the internet is not physically based anymore. It's interest based. But our day-to-day conversations with people are very much physical location based, right? You talk to people in your community, you talk to people at work, you talk to people that are close by, but your experience is so varied because you're grouped by interest, not by physical location. Yeah. Back in the day, if you went to the same high school, you saw all the same things, no matter what. Right? You all heard the same songs on the radio. You all saw the same news. You all saw
the same sporting
events,
movies,
the same sporting events, right?
Yeah.
But that's not true anymore. It's not the way things work out anymore. And I think, to your point, it's really not a fault of ours. I think it's conversation is getting harder with just a random interaction.
Yeah. And it's harder to find things that you can both talk about and be excited about, because the number of things that I'm excited about, happily corresponds pretty highly with the things that you're excited about. But a random person from the church group that I'm a part of, like, it's a lot harder for me to just like pull something out of the bag. I tried that. I tried that one of the other weeks, and like it was kind of weird, because I was just like, "You guys interested in space?" And they're like, "Well, what kind of thing about space?" I'm like, "Everything, anything. Like, just, like, do you even keep up with any of the space news? Like,
do you want to talk about orbital mechanics?"
We could talk about space video games. We could talk about space companies. We could talk about space discoveries. I don't care, but do you know anything about space? And the answer is like, not really. It's like, oh, well, great. Now what do we talk about? Because that's all I can think about.
I will say this. One thing that I've found for just general conversation, and this is, again, an artifact of me being a teacher, I'm very good at talking to college age and below students.
Okay.
Because I'm very good at leading questions where I say simple questions like, "What's your program?" Like, what are you going into? Right? Those are the ones that everyone knows pretty much to start a conversation with.
Yeah.
But I've gotten very good at trying to find, just kind of like you were doing right there, of finding, well, if you're going into some program or you're interested in some subject, there's usually some very good reason you're interested in that.
Yeah.
That's connected to your passions, right?
Yeah.
I find that asking more and more questions like, "Oh, what got you interested in that? Have you always been interested in that? What do you want to do with that? Why do you want to do that?" Usually asking those types of questions leads to some interesting conversation you can have.
Yeah.
And so, fortunately, people having passion and interest hasn't changed over time. They always have those.
Yeah.
Just finding that is harder.
Right.
But for students, I find exploring what they want to do is helpful for getting to that, and then that can lead to interesting conversations.
Yeah.
It's harder with older people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I find like older people just want to talk about their families, which is great. But it's like, do you still have interest in life though that like
right,
you enjoy? You know?
Yeah.
The thing I find the most helpful is the older someone gets, and I don't mean this to be flippant or anything, but talking about the past actually is a really good way to go. Like if you know someone's age, especially if they're similar age or same age as your parents or the same age as your grandparents, right?
Yeah.
If they're your age, I find trying to talk about things that were common when we were kids is a good conversation starter. Like I had a friend, he was talking about wrestling, and I was like, "Oh, did you ever play that old wrestling game on the N64?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love that game." You know, like because I played that game all the time too, and so that was a fun one to talk about. But in the past, the difference in experiences converges the further and further you go back, right?
That's a good point.
Before the internet age, you're going to have more similarities in the past than you are going to have now. If I'm talking to someone my age, I'll talk about old video games, old TV shows. If I'm talking to someone my parents' age, I'll talk about 80s rock because I know it from my dad.
Yeah, right.
Or I'll talk about, basketball players of that time or something, or movies from that time. It just goes on and on. So I find trying to connect to the past is helpful in that regard. I'm not the best at it. I'm going to say that right up front.
Yeah.
But I've found that that's more likely where we're going to find an experience that we converge on. And also just talking about their past will probably bring up what they were doing, which will probably bring up their interest more.
Right. Yeah. That correlates directly to interest.
But then it's hard if all they want to talk about is their nephew who's doing some amazing work somewhere. And it's like, that's great. I'm glad they traveled to Europe or whatever.
Right.
I want to talk about you. I want to know more about you, not your nephew.
Yeah. Okay. So two ideas, two things that come out of this that from what you've just said. The first one is that a thought on conversation is that I also don't want to be the one talking or them to tell me about stuff necessarily. Like.
Right.
It's easy to get people to talk about themselves. At least I think if they want to talk about themselves, it's easy to, it's easy to get them to do it because it's really easy to talk about yourself and your own opinions, your own ideas. And it's really easy to let people just kind of go with that. But that's not a conversation. Like I want things,
right.
I want ways to converse with people because that's, at least I hope that's what we do. Like that's what it feels like me and you do is we're able to talk about a thing. And we both have experiences on it. We're peers, so we're on a similar playing field, and we have similar interests, and so it works out really well to actually converse back and forth. And you bring up a good point that I agree that it's easier to talk to kids, to people, to kids that are younger than me. Yes, old man Aaron.
Yeah, because you're so old.
Yeah.
Crawling towards the grave, essentially.
Right. Well, because you have similar life experiences to people who are your age and younger. And so you've either experienced it already or you are experiencing it. And therefore there's something to talk about. And there's something that you can both relate to. That's something that's personal to you, but still can lead to other interests and other topics and allow you to talk about stuff. Whereas people that are older than you as a person, you don't know what their life is like. Like you've never been anywhere near that because they're just older, they've just been around longer and they've had different life experiences.
Right.
And so using the past as a connection to that, because they used to be kids, they saw historical events.
Right.
They have thoughts on things that happened in the past. These are good ways to, that doesn't surprise me that that's like a good way to talk to them because it's something that you both understand. If there's anything that people can talk about easily, it would be, in my mind, it would be like historical topics based on what I'm learning today, what I'm thinking about today is historical topics would be the easiest because it's like, well, this is a thing that happened. What do you think about it? What did you think happened? Like if they were old enough, how did you feel when that happened? And then you can have a conversation about it because it's kind of concrete and it's already happened. There's no guessing in the future. There's no current interest involved, or there might be, but
Well, and to your point, you said if you're always asking them to talk about themselves, it can seem very one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
But you were mentioning having friends at church or family members, your in-laws, etc., that you just don't know what to talk about with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the things I was talking about was much more, getting to know someone for the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Or getting to know someone before you talk to them more often.
Mm-hmm.
But I find knowing interests is what helps with those conversations. Like us, right? We're very conversational.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because we know exactly what we're interested in.
Yeah.
I know exactly what things you like to do.
Yeah.
I know your background. I know some of your goals even, We know a lot about each other.
Yeah.
And because we know a lot about each other and have had many conversations that have led to that, it's very easy for us to talk to each other. Because I know exactly the types of things to ask you about if we want to have a conversation, and you know the exactly things to ask me about if we want to have a conversation.
Right. And doubly, it makes it really easy because, like, we don't have any. I feel like we don't have any fear of stepping on each other. Like, we're just we both, to some degree, we think similarly about things.
There's a huge amount of trust there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not worried that when you say a thing is stupid, I'm not worried that you think I'm stupid. I'm not worried that you don't want to hang out with me anymore. It's just you think a thing is stupid. It's like, yeah, that could be a stupid thing, or I actually really like that thing. And we can talk about what we like and what we don't like, which comes back to being confident in yourself. That's so important.
Right. Well, I'm thinking with my students too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always going to be someone. Conversation is a two-person thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some people that if they're not wanting to be part of the conversation, there's not much you can do. And sadly, you just kind of have to accept that. Especially for me as like a teacher, there's some students I'm just never going to connect with because they don't want to connect with me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
And I can't force that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I guess the point I want to make is you can't expect everyone you interact with to be on the same conversational level that you and I are on, right?
Yeah, no, that would be foolishness to expect that.
Right. But I guess my overall point is the more knowledge you have, the easier the conversation becomes. The more knowledge you have of each other, the easier it is to make conversation. So knowledge is power in this case of,
right.
If I know the things you like, it's easier for me to start into a conversation with you by saying, did you see this? Or how was this that you went to? Or how is this going? Etc. If I know that about you already.
Yeah.
Which comes to those tips I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that I'm by any means like David is the expert on conversations with people. Like a doctoral student in computer science is probably not the guy you should go to for conversation advice in the first place.
Right.
But I'm just saying I found this to be the case in my own experience.
A super computer science nerd and a socially isolated shop worker. Like, yes, we know about conversation, don't we, David? We know how to have conversation, don't we?
That's why we have to have conversations on a podcast so that we can actually kind of communicate with the outside world.
Right.
In some form. Yeah. We're not even talking to them directly. We're just talking to each other and hoping that someone's listening to it. That's how we communicate with the outside world. Right. So we're definitely people that talk about conversations.
Right, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we don't yeah, for sure. I don't know. We haven't solved my problem. Well, we haven't really solved it. I want answers, but this is one of those things where I'm afraid that there aren't very many good answers.
I think that the true practical solution, or not necessarily a solution, but the state of things is, like we were talking about, things are getting harder because there's more niches in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But skill in getting to know people first is helpful in the overall ability to have conversation with others.
Okay.
That's the state of things.
Right.
I don't think there's a silver bullet. But the more you can find out about a person's interests directly and get to know who they are, the easier the conversation becomes naturally.
Right.
But now let's get into real solutions here.
Oh, no.
How can we force conversation to always occur?
We could. Oh, I have an idea. Okay, so here's what you do. You have a little resume.
Okay.
A little sheet of paper that you can carry around. that like when you meet someone for the first time, you hand them your resume and you say, "All right, take a look at these things, get to know me a little bit, and then and then we can talk. You know, take a minute to look over this sheet." And they would, in the ideal world, they would hand you theirs, and so that in a very short moment, you can get to know at least something about each other, and then from there, conversation topics could spring up. Like that would make it a lot easier, you know. Oh, you're interested in baking? Well, I'm interested in baking. Like we could talk about baking. I made these cookies, blah blah blah.
Aaron,
blah, blah.
I love your idea. It's actually the same form as mine.
Yeah.
But you're totally using archaic technology here. What happens is everyone fills out on their phone an app, right? That just is the description of yourself, and then it puts certain topics on the screen, random TV shows, random subjects you might like, etc. And you rank them on a scale of like 1 to 10 of how interested you are in that thing.
Okay, yeah.
And you don't even have to put in everything. It doesn't have to be a list of like 700 things. It could be a deep learning model that actually figures out essentially what you like based on the random things it gave you, and interpolates through the data.
Right.
And then you have a profile. Okay.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah.
Then just like that one app we were going to design that tells you what direction people are heading,
the navigation
so you can avoid them.
Yep.
Same idea. When you get close to someone, if they have similar interests, it highlights. Like you guys both said 10 on this topic.
That's amazing.
And then maybe it has like top 5 things you both liked, and the top 5 things they liked overall.
Right.
So you know what you like overall for each other for connections, and then you like what they are passionate about, or you find out what they are passionate about. And so you just have a quick summary. So even like as they're approaching, you can just like quickly whip out the phone, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you walk towards each other, and then you know instantly what to ask them about because you know their top interests and your top connections.
Oh man,
to each
that
other.
would be so creepy though. Like you're walking up to somebody to go say hi for the first time, and they're like, "Hello, hello, so and so. Hello, Aaron. How are you doing today? Would you like to talk about orbital trajectories?" And you're like, weird and very weird. It's a good solution. It works.
If I found someone as I was just walking down the road and they happen to like the Hey Arnold TV show and deep learning models and physics, right? That would be really cool to just randomly run into someone that has all those same connections that I have.
Right. Well, because then you could. This is even better. It doesn't have to be people you were gonna have a conversation with. It could be anybody. Because then you know what you could do. You can actually expand your friend base really easily.
Right.
Because you can say, "Hey, you right there, like, hey Joe, stop right there," you know, and then wander over and talk story with them for like a minute or two. Bam, friendship achieved, or acquaintance.
You can have also instant rejection of people that you shouldn't waste your time talking to.
Exactly. You'll walk past somebody and it'll just all red, you know, red lines on everything, just everything's wrong. And you're like, okay, nope, not going to have a conversation. They start walking towards you and then they look at their device and you look at yours and then you turn around from each other and walk away from each other because you're like, this isn't going to work. We're not going to be friends about these things.
Uh-oh. I see you like disco music and art history.
Yeah.
You like reality TV. Okay, this just isn't gonna happen. I have to go home now.
Yeah, I have to leave. It would help with parties too. Parties are the most awkward social situations that exist to man. At least to me, they exist. And
right.
They exist to make me uncomfortable and grumpy about things.
Aaron, I have your solution to parties.
Oh, okay.
Just don't go.
Oh.
That's what I do.
Thank you, David.
Not worth it.
You freed me.
No amount of apps or technology can ever solve the problem.
Right.
Of how awful parties are.
It's like there's like a certain I'm trying to figure it out, but there's like if you get a certain number of the right kinds of people in a room, like it's really fun.
Right.
And any other combination of or amounts of people and it turns into just like horrible awkward nonsense, you know? Just horrible. Right. I like it. I don't like having to look at the phone though. If there was a way it could be like a retinal display.
That's what I was going to say. You just wait long enough and that will be the case.
Google
We
Glass
just
will
need to
come
develop the
back.
technology now so people are familiar with it so
Right.
that when we get robotic eyes, we'll just be ready for that adaptation.
Right, right.
When we can just look at a person and have a complete summary of who they are and their life. You know, it seems really creepy if you have a robot eye do that, but
Yeah.
if your phone's already doing that, it will seem less creepy after we
Right.
make that transition.
Right, right. No, that's great. I can only see good things. Like this could only interconnect society more because there's no it takes the guesswork out of like trying to figure out what people are interested in. Like you have something to talk about with people, you know, and you could stay up to date and you can
Right.
I can only see good things. One of my concerns was like trenching people, like all of a sudden like you gather all of your followers into a certain camp and like now we're red team versus blue team now and green team's over there just futzing around, you know, but that's not how it is cuz people have enough, I think people have enough interest and enough connected topics of conversation that you could actually like you would actually
Right.
disperse crowds, you know, you disperse these groups of people.
Well, especially if you're just talking about like where people are physically located.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a huge group of people that happen to live right next to you that have only the exact same interests.
Right. Well, and there's no way to get them all the same interest because if you take one interest point and you say, okay, I want 100 people around me with this point of interest, and then each person can choose their own, and they all choose different ones.
Right.
All of a sudden, you've got like thousands of people with varying interests of all kinds all around you.
Right.
It's genius. I love it.
I mean, there is a whole like identity theft and security issues you have to deal with, but we solved the conversation problem. We'll leave that to somebody else.
Right. That's not my job. My job is to solve the one problem that I placed in front of myself, which is conversation starters.
No matter how many problems the solution gives, we at least solve the problem that was placed in front of us.
Right. Well, I mean,
that's all that matters.
We can work out. We can brainstorm better ideas later. We can iron out the details later. You know, we just need a starting point somewhere for the many followers to take up arms and begin using their talents to grow and expand and exert our will upon the world. That's what I want. This is what I desire, as I have said before.
I have one more thing for you.
Okay.
I want to end on a problem well solved.
Okay, I'm down.
Are you familiar with winter roller coasters or winter coasters?
You know what? I think I am. Is this? Are you talking about where people get together and ride roller coasters in the wintertime because it's cold?
Not quite.
Oof. I don't know what you're talking about then.
Okay, so while I was at this conference, it was in Snowmass Village in Colorado. So it was just this beautiful ski resort. Really, really fun to walk around, but I can't ski.
Okay, yeah.
So the conference was scheduled, actually. It's kind of interesting. They had all the, usually you would think, conference would be like 9 to 5 and then everyone gets the evenings off, right?
Yeah.
But because it was a ski resort, they had mornings off from like 8 to 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And then you'd go from like 2 to 10 o'clock at night. It'd go really late because everyone else would want to go ski, and then they'd do the conference in the evening when it was dark and they couldn't ski anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Anyways, point being, had all this free time where they were kind of letting us go ski if we wanted to, but I can't ski. And I don't want to pay to go skiing.
Not interested in learning, not interested in trying. Like, this is not a fun thing that's sounding.
But what happened is I still wanted to enjoy it. I was like, well, I'm at a ski resort. I should do something.
Okay, yeah.
And they had a tubing kill, which was a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah.
And they had what's called a winter roller coaster.
Okay.
Or I think they just call it the winter coaster.
Okay.
So what they do is you're on a ski hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Middle of this forested area.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put you in this little like bobsled type looking thing where you strap yourself in and they just take you up the ski slope on the coaster for like a good 5 minutes. Like it takes a while to get up there because you're not really, you're not like on a regular roller coaster. You have the kind of the suspense of, oh, I'm falling this big, huge height, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you look down, you're like, oh, if I fall off this, like I'm dead, right?
Right, yeah, you can look straight down through the floor of the coaster to your inevitable demise.
Right. But on a slope, you don't have that limitation.
Mm-hmm.
You can go as high as you want because you're just going along the mountain. You're not like constantly looking down going, oh man, I'm going higher, I'm going higher. So you can just keep going up and up. And so they just take you up the hill for a good 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on this bobsled and you just kind of free fall down for a 2-minute roller coaster just going in between the trees and the snow. So it was actually really cool because it's super pretty, right? All the snow and all the trees, and you're just on kind of this metal coaster that kind of winds you back through. And it was still pretty fast, so it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. But you do have to wear gloves because it gets pretty cold.
It's because it's cold, right? Yeah.
Right.
Is it so? It's like on a metal, like a bobsled track. Like it's a track.
Yeah, so it's a track. Like you're not free.
You're not just
like free sliding back and forth. But
right, they weren't just like, oh, here's the ski hill, go down it on a bobsled instead. Like, have fun.
Right.
Push.
No, it's on a definite track, and you're seat belted in. But yeah, it's just not it's not designed like a regular coaster because it's trying to get kind of the thrill of being up really high and doing loops. This is more just lets meander back and forth through the woods, but going super fast that you couldn't go through on skis. They basically took the wooded area that they couldn't ski down, it'd be too many trees, and put a coaster in between all them.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it was really fun, and it was really cool. There's only one problem with it, though.
Okay.
You get to control your speed. You actually have the handle on the side.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, straight down, fast as possible.
Full speed. Don't touch the handle. Like that's what cowards do. Cowards touch the handle.
Right. But there's some people that would do it and they'd like, oh, let's enjoy going through the trees. They like, what are you doing here?
They want to ride
They're taking pictures and stuff.
That might be a deal breaker. I do not want to be stuck behind somebody riding their brake all the way down the hill. Like, come on, we're here for the thrill. We're here for the speed. It can handle going down without using the brake. That's what it's built for. Like, it's just like a coaster.
Right. Yeah. So I only had that happen once, though. I got to ride it 3 times, and the first time I actually was the first one there, so no one was in front of me.
Oh, nice.
Right. And the third time I said, I want to go down fast, and they said, well, we'll let the other car in front of you go up the hill for a while, and then we'll let you go so that hopefully there's plenty of space. Yeah, and I didn't run into any issues there.
Nice.
But yeah, in my mind, it's like, just get rid of the handles. Like, come on, just if you're going to do it. Do it full speed. Take it.
There should be 2 coasters if there's going to be a slow one.
Yeah, there should be the sightseeing coaster and the real coaster.
The kiddie coaster and the big kid coaster, yeah.
If you ever get the chance, you should do a winter coaster. I think there's actually one near us.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not as great as a true blown roller coaster, but for not having any coasters during the winter, it's kind of nice to have that experience.
It's very good. It's nice because the bobsled, it is a different kind of experience than a roller coaster, and so it's like I'm interested. I like the sound of it, and I'm super interested. You have to point me in the right direction and wait another 9 months until winter.
Yeah, I guess we're almost out of it.
Well, we've come to the end once again. 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 To the end.